1980 CJ7 complete dismantle, and it is what we're crossing our fingers on to be one of the better tubs for CJ7. I'm going to say hopefully an A, if not a high B, for a tub. I've looked at the areas already that are known to rust out in them, and it's got a little bubbling on the side there, but the floors look solid. The underneath the roll bar feet look solid. So we'll have to see when we get it down, but there'll be a pre-dismantle price as we do on all these. So if it's something you want to take a chance on, I'll do a better video just for the tub and get a price nailed down on it, and then do a full dismantle. And if it doesn't come back to what we think it is, then we'll look for another one or just refund it. So that's the option on that as far as the tub goes. And I mentioned that even though this video is mainly to go over the top and doors, which I have a buyer for. I told him I've done some photos, but we like just to make sure people know what they're getting. So this is a really nice set of CJ7 doors that we finally have. Again, these have been really hard to get for us. Well, for any yard, but for us, no, it's the same. So, okay, so areas to kind of be aware of that get weak here. This here, which this one's actually good, not broke yet. Although I would probably have somebody retack or fill this in a little bit better with a weld, because this is a weak spot. There's a couple weak spots on doors. They like to rust here, and this one they're getting a little bit where you're starting to see a little bit of bubble in here. So it's definitely something I would get in there and clean it up a little bit, but definitely not as bad as some of the other doors we've had in where they just keep getting worse and worse and worse, and nobody ever messes with them, and they completely blow this whole area out, and then it is hard fixing. So, and then the other weak point on these guys is this crack right here, and you'll see this on both sides. Usually the driver, because it's used more, is always worse, and this one actually isn't bad. It's only maybe a ½ inch, and sometimes I've seen these go all the way down. So another area that you'll want to fix. Now on a CJ door, the advantage on a CJ door is there is a see these holes here, there is a piece of padding you can get on CJ doors, and I guess you could adapt them to YJ as well. The doors are very similar, but that covers this whole area up, and it's just like a trim. So you can do it that way and hide the repair here, or just do a really good job here and don't worry about it. There's some bracing I've seen people do. This can get a little involved if you do bracing on the back side of it or panel up there. It just becomes almost an eyesore. So somebody to come in and just retack that up, and then just from there on out, being a little bit easier than instead of slamming doors or letting the wind catch them. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's going to be, like I said, and even YJs, all the way up to TJs, they do this. So they never really fix issue. Scrubbers, inside scrubber needs to be replaced. Or you don't have to, but again, if you're going to be reconditioning these, I probably would recommend it. They're not super expensive. You can get those on Crown, or Omex sells them. The outside scrubber looks to be okay. It actually is nice and soft like it should be. So I'd probably leave that one alone. The other weather seals, they're intact and not ripped, and they're probably original. They're pretty flat though, so I'd probably get a set of those. They're starting to tear a little bit right here. They're pretty fluffy down here, so they're holding pretty good. And then while we're here, just real quick on the top, so it's got some paint chips coming down through here, a little weather stripping there down into this area, and then right here starting to get a little chips here. Fiberglass this up, get this when you get it painted, and you can see there's nothing through and through. This is all real nice and clean. And then this is just where the bolts mount on back. And this guy up here, if you're not aware of how a CJ7 or YJ top attaches, is there's a trim piece on the inner side of the top that's kind of a lip, and that these are a bit too big, but normally you'd use like a small self tapper if you don't already have holes, pre-drill them in your windshield frame and then go to town on it that way. You don't have, I mean, we drove this Jeep back without these in it, and they didn't make any noise, but it's usually recommended to have a little bit more, something that kind of holds tight up there. So, okay, so rest of the top, scratches, okay, and then the back glass on this guy is sitting right here with the rubber seal, and it was a little bit harder the other day. This is actually pretty good shape. It was a little colder out where I got this Jeep, a little higher up in elevation. So back glass looks like a tinted one. And then the seal will box that separately. And then you have your hatch here. And this is the difference on a YJ and a CJ7. So these tops are interchangeable, but just keep in mind if you do that, it kind of messes with the function of how these tailgates open up. So this top, the tailgate, the swing out comes open, top comes up, door comes down. And on a YJ, the tailgate itself is actually what locks your back hatch. So, okay, nice clean there. And then you can see the cables inside of here. And these just activate, which is, you can see the little arms moving. And then it's got the gas struts on it. And nice clean at the top. Nice tinted windows to match the rear tint there. And then same through up there. And then of course the passenger side. And same things happening here. You're starting to see it a little bit more with the line showing up here. But again, this is all nice and solid, but don't let this go. Definitely get this in, and get this out of it, because it's just going to eat itself from the inside out. It's just a poor design, unfortunately, on these old doors. So this one here, I thought it came apart or separated. It's not. It's the same thing though. It's not loose right now, but it will be if you continue, if you don't. So get a nice little bead there, fix that. Outer scrubber's in good shape, like the other side. No rust. I don't know if I showed the other side, but there's no rust in these doors anywhere. Okay, and then look here, you got to see there's that little crack. And again, it's not nearly as big, and that's usually because the passenger side doors don't get used nearly as much as the out inside, the driver's side. So wing windows do open and close like they should. Okay, and then I'm doing this one-handed, so lock in place. Windows go up and down like they should. Okay, I didn't do that on the other side. I will do it though. That's a little button just to cover the hole up, but again, you can get padding there if you want. And I think that's it. I'll show you the other side window. And this is just, who knows if this was factory. It could have been like a Laredo where they trimmed this with a kind of a thicker paint here. But it is red underneath, so my guess is somebody probably painted this after the fact to kind of match the hard top, because there was a trim package that kind of gave that. And then as far as tubs go, was really quickly, there's a little damage back here, but the areas that I always look for on tubs is going to be this area here, and this is hard to see right now, but super clean. No rust in that area on either side. Thank you. Got my lunch. And well, once again, and I'm going to put a new crank on it for him. It makes it a little bit easier to roll it down, but window goes all the way down like it should, and nice and easy too, nice and smooth. There's no spots that are, other than me not having a knob that's getting stuck or anything. And then this window, same thing, opens nice and closes. And there's new seal kits you can get for these too, but these are in decent shape. I probably wouldn't mess with those. And then we told them we would put a new knob on here, and then we'd replace the limiting straps with the original ones versus the nice pokey garage cables that are gotta be really painful if those hit your legs. So, and then if anybody else needs any parts on this thing, of course, it's a complete Jeep that runs, actually runs really good. And it doesn't have a nice column in it. Unfortunately, they broke that. So, but I'll have parts from this column, and we have a good CJ fixed column. I don't have any tilts at the moment. It's got a nice console in it, and the harnesses look to be in good shape. There's a couple they modified on the engine side of things, but nothing that, ouch, and that's got the steps on it too. Those are actually kind of hard to find. Let me just, this took me a minute the other day to figure out how this was wired up. So I'll just show you how it runs. All right, let's see here. So you see the battery gauge there. The guy I got this from expected me to know, oh, don't all Jeep guys do this? And I said, no, this is not common actually. So that's how well it runs. Only thing I got going on is the clutch. Fuel's over there, not having to give it any gas. Fires right up, idle smoothly. Power steering on it. I drove the thing. Drives nice. Clutch is way out of the top, so it's probably a brand new clutch. And yeah, I think that's it. So, all right. 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. 258, probably a T. You know what? I'm not sure. It's an 80, so this is probably an SR5. I was thinking it was going to be a T5, but it's probably too early for a T5. So we'll have to pull that and see, because 5-speeds aren't very common in these years. If they're not common at all, it might have been switched at one time, and it could just be a knob on it. No, I'd switch it in all 5 gears. It does have something 5-speed in it. So, okay, even the tires are decent on it. It's got the nice wheel, old, almost like a wagon-looking wheel. That's a Jeep original wheel, and those are hard to get. And I got a matching set of them with the caps. They need to be refinished, but they don't look overly rusty. Those will be available. Pretty much everything on this thing will be available. And there's definitely a little bit of, like, the windshield frame's done on this one. The hood's not in great shape, but I mean, somebody could fix it. But the rest of it, grill is okay. The fenders are shot. Axle, I don't know what ratio we'll have. Hopefully some decent axles. My guess is probably the run-of-the-mill wide track we've been getting, which is 272s. And if you need any other G parts, YJs, Cherokee, XJs, WJs, EJs, even WKs, got a couple of those. Comanches. This is what fills a lot of our yard. What fills our shelves over there, and both the engine and the transmission and interior, almost exclusively, those are for CJ and Wrangler, small parts, engines, transmission, transfer cases. Everything else kind of just parts as it comes out of the vehicle. And we don't usually do a full teardown on one of these, because at least at the point now, they're not really being, the tubs on these Grand Cherokees and stuff aren't really, they're getting to a point where they're starting to sell, but whereas like a Wrangler tub or a CJ tub or frame are highly desirable, so they usually come out. And then we haven't listed our frames yet, and we have a good stack of California frames and a few good YJ tubs. This is a Cherokee XJ we just got. And this is the rig that will be heading to Washington via Salt Lake, Boise, Astoria, Oregon, Portland, all those areas, Spokane, and then back down. And I'll be leaving here in a few days. So if you need any Jeep parts, especially on the bigger side of things, little stuff will ship to you, but on the bigger side of things, let me know and I'll get them brought up. All right, thanks a lot. Again, 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com.